Hey Zoomers, welcome back to World Zoom. Happy you could join me again. And sorry about missing yesterday's video. I was out running about. So, I've been back now about a month and a half or so. Didn't have the greatest of experience in the Philippines this time around, but historically I always have, and I certainly don't blame the people for the experience that I had in the Philippine detention. And it made me think, like, what do I really miss being back here in the U.S.? What do I really miss about the Philippines? And there are so many things that you hear the expatriates talk about that they love, likes and dislikes, basically. I had a lot more likes than dislikes, and always will have a good taste. There's sadness, in me, because the chances of my returning to the Philippines are pretty much nil at this point. Even though I just have a 1-year blacklist, my being vocal about the police and the NBI and the Bureau of Immigration, wouldn't allow me to return without some retribution from those groups of people. I mean, that is just seriously how they operate. I know that. But there are things that I really miss, I do miss now. And I just wanted to talk about a couple of those things from there. I really miss the friendliness of the people. If you went out during the day from your condo or your villa, and you were out about at the mall or just walking along the street or the beach, any of those type of things, guaranteed you are going to be having, if you wanted to, you could have a conversation with a Filipina individually or their family or just about anyone you wanted to talk with. I mean, they seem to really enjoy their English, practicing their English if they didn't already speak it pretty well. There's a bit of a thought that all the Filipinas speak English, and what I found really in my time there, that's really not the case. They may have a beginner's type of conversational skills in the English, but anything in depth is reserved for just a fortunate few. If you could run into someone that been overseas, an overseas foreign worker, or had been in the U.S. or Canada, England, wherever it might be, and you could really have an in-depth conversation with those people. But by and large, going through the country, there wasn't a great deal of English going on at that point. So I really will miss that friendliness. That's something that is a rare thing here in the U.S. Certainly they're going to say hi, right? But anything much more than that is sort of deemed creepy, here in the U.S. that a stranger would have made me think of it because I was just in Walmart. I just said hi and got a hi back, but sort of a look like, hi, that's it. There's not going to be anything going past that point. And so it does make it much, much more difficult if you're in a new area in the U.S. or you do want to find friends. It's much more difficult. It's going to have to happen on the driving range, maybe the fitness center. It's not going to happen in a restaurant or walking on the street or a Walmart or any of those kind of, it's got to be sort of pre-planned where you're meeting people through a third party. You have a friend who's introducing you to friends, and that's not something that needs to be the case in the Philippines. People are just happy to talk with you right from the start. So I do miss that. I also love the weather. Sometimes the rainy season gets a bit much, but in truth, my experience with the rainy season has been you sort of know when it's going to come. Maybe something in the morning, it'll build through the course of the day, and it'll rain buckets on you at 4 p.m., 5 p.m., and then it clears up. So there's not that many days, very few in fact, that is just a complete washout. You're going to have it morning and the afternoon, and then April's like crazy hot, but I really don't mind the heat and the humidity. that's just something I really enjoyed being there. So I will miss the weather most definitely, especially now in September, mid-September, that we're going to move into October, November. And, I don't miss the winter at all. I vowed to not be in another winter. So I'll miss that. I miss the ocean, going to the beach and just spending time. There's very few places you can get in the Philippines where you're very far from the ocean. And so if you happen to be a beachcomber, you like to walk on the beach, you like to swim, you like to scuba, I like looking for shells and things along that way, you can find some unspoiled beaches that are there. You can also find some that are polluted and are not really for swimming, namely in the Manila area. It's hard to find a decent place there, especially on Luzon, unless you go well south or well north. But they are there. There's even good surfing spots, that are there on Luzon. But any of the other islands, especially if you go to like Samar, Palawan, even Mindanao has got some great oceans and great beaches for you to be able to go to. There's just something about being able to be close to the ocean, and you see like Mark, from Every Man Has a Story, and you see Tim K, who lived right on the beach there for quite some time. They're right there on the water, things that would be untouchable price-wise in the U.S. And even if you live far back from there, there's usually parking, and it's usually free, and you can get right to the beach. So certainly one of the top things that I'll miss in the Philippines is access and how beautiful the water is. I miss going up the mountains to the rainforest. My old landlord named Dave, who was in his mid-80s, took me up in the rainforest above Dumaguete. And, he just knew all those trails. He'd been there 25 years or so. So once someone takes you up in the mountains one time and you sort of learn where to park and where to hike and where the waterfalls are hiding, man, is that great. Not that fun to do by yourself, but it's okay. It's certainly peaceful. But if you have a Philippine girlfriend who will get in the sun or at least cover up and wear a hat, or you're with other expats and you want to head up in the rainforest, man, it's just great. In my opinion, it's just really great. I enjoy hiking, so it's a fun place. I'll miss the costs of housing. You forget, when you're there in Southeast Asia for a period of time, whether you're in or around Bangkok or Ho Chi Minh City, Phnom Penh, or anywhere in the Philippines, how inexpensive you can find housing. Now, you can find the high-end stuff too, don't get me wrong, but you can also find the $200 and $300 a month places to stay, less in Ho Chi Minh, but you can still find reasonable 1 and 2 bedroom apartments in Vietnam, and the further up the coast you get, the better it gets. But they're available all over Thailand, harder to find in Bangkok, but everywhere else. Even Chiang Mai and Chiang Rai are reasonable for the housing. And that's certainly the same with the Philippines, talking about that specifically. Still in Dumaguete and Cebu and you name it, really wherever you want to set up shop, there is appropriate housing, for you for whatever your budget is going to be. And if you could imagine what a $500 a month property looks like in the U.S., compared to a 3-bedroom, 2-bath property you're going to get in the Philippines for the same $500. The housing is pretty good. I didn't have that on, but I do miss the Philippine peso exchange rate. I was went to a couple places, tried to exchange a bunch of pesos because I had them in my suitcase when I was in detention. And man, it is tough to find a place. I went to the airport. They changed the currency exchanges after COVID and hadn't opened it back up. I went to a couple of the hotels and was asking about that. They took Canadian dollars, pounds, and I think that's it. Anyway, certainly not pesos. I just haven't been able to find a place to do it. It's not that big a deal, but I got a couple $100 sitting here in pesos since I can't go back, and Sheila's in the United Arab Emirates in Dubai. They're just sitting here. So I just carried them in my wallet for a week or so looking for a place to cash it in, and haven't been successful. But being in the Philippines and having that 56 Philippine peso exchange to the US dollar is freaking awesome. And I do miss that. You'll probably laugh at this, but I miss Food Panda. I ordered from Uber Eats a couple days ago. Just ridiculous. First, they jack up the price, of the items. So let's say you're getting a double cheeseburger, and I didn't, but let's say you're getting a double cheeseburger. And if you go in the store and get it, it's, $2.50. But on Uber Eats, it's like $4, and the French fries are a couple dollars. Then you add in the delivery fee. You're paying twice what you would pay for going inside the restaurant. And the nice thing about the Philippines, it's like $1. It's seldom more than $1 for Food Panda. And now they have the tracking devices. You can see where they come, and they'll come right to you. And so it's just such a much better. And I understand the costs involved in the U.S. are much more substantial. Most of the Uber Eats guys here are coming by automobile, where I don't think I ever saw an automobile doing Food Panda. It was, motorbikes, of course, and then some even on the bicycle. So that keeps the cost down. And then, of course, the food is cheaper too. But miss the old Food Panda. It's nice ordering something up. That'll lead me to another one, and I'll readily admit it. I miss Jollibee. I like their chicken. I like their spaghetti, even though they put hot dogs in it, which is super weird. I miss their peach mango pies. I miss all there is to do with the Jollibee. I did get to a Jollibee 3 days ago here, and that made me quite happy. My friends would make fun of me because they just don't get Jollibee. It's just too sweet. They say the spaghetti's super sweet. Everything you have, the hot dog is just super sweet to them. The chicken, they say, doesn't taste like the KFC or Church's or Popeyes. But I love it across the board, and I'm glad there's one here around me that I can get to. Max, too. I like Max also. And then lastly, I'll talk just about the ferries, the boats that you can travel with inter-island. So if you wanted to go from Siquijor to Dumaguete, for example, or Cebu to almost anywhere, there was always a pier area and always a boat that would take you. So for me, I'm sure if you did it every day, it probably would get old, but it's so inexpensive. And there's just something about being on a boat to me. And the water is so clear and so beautiful on in between most of the islands. So you're able to jump from spot to spot really easily, inexpensively. Even when I took my car, I really seldom had a problem. Had a problem going to Iloilo City once, where they just, the documents that they wanted just went on and on and on. But when I would leave from Sibulan or from Cebu, absolutely no problem getting the car on, and not terrible on the price as well. So I miss being on those boats and being on the water. Probably exactly what I talked about with the ocean. So I'm really curious. A lot of you guys have been there sometime in the past, or you go often. When you come back to Australia or to Europe or to Canada, the US, what is it that you miss? What is stuck in your mind when you're walking around the streets of your home country that you're missing about Southeast Asia? Now, some of you jump back and forth from the Philippines to Thailand, and I can't blame you for that. There's a lot of similarities to what I miss about Thailand, for example, and the other. There's even a couple things I miss about Dubai, but not much. Nothing like what I miss from the Philippines. So let me know. I know the guys love to, when you make your comments, I love to read those and see, what I missed or what you think about when you came back. So anyway, from World Zoom, I always appreciate you guys. I will talk soon and see you in a couple days. Bye-bye.